upgrading the Chandra Flames Fury Planeswalker deck. Hey everyone, it's VM Campos, Magic Fan. I've got another Planeswalker upgrade video for you. This time it's Chandra Flames Fury from Core Set 2020. This is the short version of the video. If you'd like the longer version, head on over to patreon.com/vmcampos. What you will get for $1 is access to the full deck list, sideboard, expensive cards, and other strategy for making this deck even better. If you go to the $2 range, I will actually mail you some vintage Magic cards. No, not a Black Lotus. If you can't contribute at the moment, no worries, enjoy the shorter version of the video. This video is for beginning to intermediate players who purchased a Planeswalker deck and wish to upgrade it to the next level. I'm going to focus on common and uncommon cards from Core Set 2020, because you're able to make an amazing deck from any of the cards of Magic's 25-year history. As a beginner player, however, you might not have access to all the cards, so you probably have a lot of common and uncommon cards. That's what this build will focus on. Rares and mythic rares are just more expensive, so we'll focus on common and uncommon cards from Core Set 2020. The crown jewel of the deck is the Chandra Flames Fury Planeswalker deck. This is a 6 casting cost Planeswalker that comes in with 4 loyalty counters. +1, Chandra deals 2 damage to any target, so you get a shock right away with a +1. -2, Chandra deals 4 damage to target creature and 2 damage to that creature's controller. So probably kill one of their big creatures and deal damage directly to the opponent. And that will actually factor in on other cards that we'll talk about. -8, Chandra deals 10 damage to target player and each creature that player controls. So probably a big old board wipe, 10 damage to all the opponent's creatures, and better yet, 10 damage right to the opponent. Amazing. The focus on this deck will be elementals, so I'm going to swap some things out to focus on elementals. So first of all, I'm going to take out all of the Ember Haulers. You're not an elemental, sorry, because instead I want a full playset of Chandra's Ember Cat. This is a common 2/2 for 2, but then we get tap, add red mana. Spend this mana only to cast an elemental spell or a Chandra Planeswalker spell. Okay, so this is ramp in red for your Chandra Planeswalker and other elementals. This deck will really focus on elementals. So, because we want 4 of them, we'll also be removing one of the pyroclastic elementals. We'll see why later. It's kind of too high of a casting cost, but let's remove one of those so we can have a full set of these Chandra Ember Cats. The deck comes with 3 Scorch Spitters, but I want a full playset of 4, so that means I'll take out an Infuriate, and I get then a 1 casting cost 1 elemental lizard. Whenever Scorch Spitter attacks, it deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. So it does damage no matter what, and then it's also a 1/1 and elemental. 1 casting cost, you can get it on turn 1, and we'll see with elemental synergy later on what else happens. Okay, Pack Mastiff, sorry, I've got a whole playset, but you're not an elemental, you've got to go, because instead I'm going to add 4 Lavakin Brawlers. 4 casting costs 2/4. When Lavakin Brawler attacks, it gets +1 until end of turn for each elemental you control. If you have 1, it automatically gets +1/+0. It becomes a 3/4. The more of these that you have, the stronger it gets. But wait a minute. For each elemental, what if you have a Scorch Spitter or 2 early on? You're going to get the +1s from the Spitter plus the Lavakin itself, +2/+0. And yeah, it's a 4 casting cost, but we've got the Ember Cat, which reduces the cost of these Lavakins. You know, you pay, you tap this, and it lets you pay for that faster. Plus, it's an elemental, so it also goes into play here. So you can get this 2/4 on turn 3 instead of turn 4 with the Ember Cat. So the Ember Cat is a big change to the deck that is amazing, so make sure you do that. I'm leaving the Spitfire, Chandra Spitfire, 3 casting cost, or a 2 casting cost if you've got the Ember Cat first. It's a 1/3. Whenever an opponent is dealt non-combat damage, this gets +3 until end of turn. Well, if you've got Chandra over here, she deals 4 damage to the creature +2 to the opponent. That's the non-combat damage that triggers this right here. Very nice. Well, if you can't get Chandra out fast enough, you have Chandra's Outrage. For 4 mana, it does the same thing. 4 damage and then 2 to the opponent. There's only 3 of them. If we want the 4th one right here, then we'll take out the last Infuriate. So that extra damage right there fuels your Spitfire. We can also fuel it with good old Shock. It's already got the full playset of 4, 2 damage to a creature, planeswalker, or opponent. This is non-combat damage. It makes your Spitfire stronger. I'm going to keep the Drakuseth, Maw of Flames. This is 7 mana for a 7/7 flying dragon. It's a legendary, so you can only have 1 per play at a time. That's why there's also only 1 in the deck. Whenever Drakuseth attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets. So it can do 4 damage to one of their creatures and then up to 3 damage to something else. 1 damage to this and to that. So it can do a lot of damage for 7. It's not an elemental, so you can't use your cost reduction there. So you can't use your mana dork there, but a 7/7 flyer is always scary. Moving on to the exclusive cards. These are cards that only exist in the Planeswalker deck. They are numbered over number 280. 5 mana, Chandra's Flame Wave deals 2 damage to target player and each creature that player controls. So it's a weaker version of Chandra's ultimate. It's 2 damage instead of 10. But then it lets you go search for, we call it tutoring, it lets you tutor for Chandra herself so you can summon her soon enough. And we'll keep both of these in the deck. I will also then keep only 2. I already took out 1 for an Ember Cat, Pyroclastic Elemental. 5 mana. If you've got the cat, you can summon it on for 4 mana. You get a 5/4. Then you have 3 mana in total to deal 1 damage to target player. This is one of the reasons I took out 1 of them. I think that's a huge casting cost for only 1 damage. Yeah, you can redo it over and over, but 6 mana to deal 2 damage to a player, even with the cost reduction. So this is number 1 for getting removed. Furthermore, if you're interested in that, I'll leave that up to you, but I only kept 2 out of 3. I'm keeping all 4 of the Wildfire Elemental, 4 mana, which could be 3 mana if you've got an Ember Cat, and I keep talking about 1 Ember Cat. What if you've got 2 Ember Cats? This gives you 2 mana right there, so you can summon your elemental even faster. Any elemental. It's a 3/3. Whenever an opponent is dealt non-combat damage, creatures you control get +1. So this gives it to all your creatures a +1. If you deal this damage directly to the opponent, non-combat damage, all your creatures get a +1. Even by itself, this is a 4/3. Everything else, even this little lizard, becomes then a 2/1. So this is a fun card to have. It's also an exclusive one. Good thing there's a full playset. I'll keep the Shivan Dragon just because it is a classic spell. And I just noticed for the first time its little claws are right here. It's got cute little claws out right here. Never really noticed that. I don't know, I thought these were its hands over here for some reason, but no, they're right over here. Anyway, 6 casting costs, 5/5 flying. Then it has the classic Fire Breathing. Pay 1 red and it gets +1. So if this costs 6 mana in total, on your next turn, you can +6 this creature and it'll be an 11/5 flyer. Amazing. There's only 1 in the deck, and the only way to get it is in more Planeswalker decks, or if you go to the Welcome decks, these also have 1 copy of this. So I'll keep it. So there you go. Those were the changes I made to the Chandra Flames Fury. If you're interested in a sideboard for tricky opponents, if you're interested in more powerful or expensive upgrades, head on over to my Patreon, patreon.com/vmcampos. You'll get access to the longer version of the video for $1, plus access to all my Planeswalker upgrade videos and all my exclusive content. And again, if you go to the $2 range, I'll mail you a magic card. So, this has been VM Campos, and I'll see you in the blind eternities.